Hi there! Welcome to episode 170 of the WaveBack Music Podcast. My name is Chris.
And I'm Matt.
And we're here to listen to the most interesting video game music there is. The world of procedurally generated games is a big one, full of titles with wildly varying quality. Many disappear into obscurity, but some become legends. One such game has such a great run, it garnered numerous awards, and even an official Castlevania crossover. Run around with your head on fire, because today we listen to the music of Dead Cells. Well, hi there, Matt.
Hi there, Chris.
How the heck are you?
I'm, for the purposes of podcast and radio, I'm good, Chris. How are you?
Not so bad. Sorry,
right.
That's what I meant to say. Matt, how are you now?
Good in yourself?
Not so bad.
See, next season drops Christmas.
Excited. I'm excited.
No.
I'm rewatching it now.
I know. It's such
It is. Anyways, yeah, it's tis the season to listen to the music of Dead Cells.
Well, if you live in my household, it makes sense.
If you live in my house, which you probably do.
Which would explain so many things.
No, we were supposed to do this a couple weeks ago, actually, but I've been deathly ill. We rescheduled it for last week, and that's when I was absolutely dead to the world. I'm well enough to record now. We're going to get this out just as quick as we can, so we're not going to miss December. And then January is going to roll around, and we'll theoretically be mostly on schedule again.
But in between somewhere, we're going to take you to the hospital.
Yes, sometime I'll make it to the hospital, and maybe I'll stop coughing.
You're propped up with rubber bands and sticks at the moment, right?
Yes, indeed.
Cool.
Honestly, that's
WaveBack.
less because of the sickness and more because of this dog. I got a new dog, and he is he's so much dog. Like
he's a handsome boy, though. I'll tell you that.
Oh my
much.
God, I love him to death. But like, I'm not used to because my other dog is just a loaf of sadness, and this dog is like, I'm a dog. Let's go. Like, you're supposed to walk these things multiple times a day. What?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm struggling just to get to 2 times a day because, of course, he goes in the backyard and plays a bunch too. So I'm convinced he's getting enough exercise because I just don't know that I can physically take him for 3 walks a day because my legs are going to fall the off.
Oh, language, Christopher.
I'm sorry. That's right. This isn't turning tracks. I can't say that. You have to bleep that out.
I will.
But like, seriously,
I already did.
My knees and my hips are like, whoa. Oh, this is a lot of walking for you, young man. And not like just walking. It's power walking because he is pulling me the whole time. He's like, let's go. I got things to sniff. I got things to pee on.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to decorate small bushes like Christmas trees by defecating on them. He's such a strange dog. Anyway, how you doing?
How you doing? I'm good. It's the end of the year. I made it through another one. It's that time of year where I start to reflect on what I've done all year, and I don't know what it is I've done. So I just come here and I do the show. So
and we appreciate that. It's what I appreciate about you.
Oh, is that what you appreciate about me? We're just gonna turn this into a Letterkenny podcast in 3 episodes.
All right. Well, we should get to work because we both have plenty of work to do today. So let's get this much belated show underway. Matt,
yes, sir.
Hit us with some history.
Thought you'd never ask. Dead Cells was released in May of 2017 for Windows platforms, and then in August of 2018 for Linux, Mac OS, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. It's what's referred to as a Roguevania, which is effectively a cross between a roguelike and a Metroidvania, which itself is a term that's a combination of Metroid and Castlevania. You guys know this already, though, so because you're all smart. In the game, you control a character known as the Prisoner. You have to travel through various randomly generated areas to earn new abilities, explore new locales, fight monsters, etc., right? You get it. It's quickly become known as one of the best examples of its genre, and has earned a considerable amount of success and fandom in the years since its release.
The game's music is by Johan Laulan, which I'm certain I pronounced incorrectly. As far as I can tell, he's primarily only ever worked on Dead Cells and its various extended content. But he is also credited for working on a game called Radical Dungeon Sweeper as well, which sounds like an excellent way to clean multicolored dungeons.
The name alone makes me want to. I'm gonna look during the first song. I'm gonna look it up.
Like, I know you're probably Dungeon Sweeper probably refers to like searching for things, but I want to believe that it's a dungeon that's got like 90s, like looks like the diner from Saved by the Bell, and then you just sweep it. That's what I want that to be.
It says Radical Dungeon Sweeper is a rogue minesweeper mashup. You have to find your
Excellent.
way to the exit without disturbing the monsters guarding the floor. If you climb down deep enough in the dungeon, you will find the holy relics. Bring them further down to improve the mausoleum's cure. Okay.
Glorious. Okay, Minesweeper, I'll take it. I'll take it.
That is the one game I still to this day don't understand.
Yeah, I think I got the hang of it once, and then I moved on with my life.
Oh my god. I know people obsessed with this game. I get obsessed with games too, but like, okay. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, what's your history with this game? Why did you choose Dead Cells for this episode?
The true answer is because when it was my time to pick, I was playing it incessantly. So I was most familiar with it. But my history with the game, I've been playing it for a while. Someone I forget someone told me to play it like, "Oh, if you dig, this sort of stuff, check it out." I'm a big Metroidvania fan, and so I thought, "Oh, okay." I didn't realize it was a roguelite. Roguelites tend to frustrate me to no end. So I've stayed away from a lot of them like Enter the Gungeon and, the bigger ones too. I don't know, but I think what ended up happening was Hades became available, and again, I still don't think I had a handle on what roguelite meant, and then I started playing Hades, and I was like, "This is a really good game. Boy, this is frustrating." I think the reason why I don't play roguelites is because I get frustrated, and then I go harder. I'm like, "No, no, no, I'm gonna beat this." I remember playing God of War, the original God of War, 1,000 years ago. I was trying to beat it on, like, extra hard mode or something, and there was this part of a level where they just keep sending enemies at you in droves and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I must have played it for about 3 hours straight. And my then girlfriend was like I would like throw the controller angry, and she's like, "Why don't you stop?" And I'm like, "Why don't you shut up?" You
I
know?
can't let this game beat me.
Exactly. So, long story short, that's my experience with roguelites in a nutshell. So, once I saw how much fun they could actually be, I got back into I had downloaded Dead Cells and I was playing it for a while and I got frustrated and I left it alone because I kept feeling like I don't know, I don't understand this game. I don't know what you're used to a game with a story, kind of linear. I don't want to say railroad, but kind of railroad, and this wasn't that. And I couldn't memorize where things were because it's randomly generated every time you start up. It's theoretically a new game every single time. But once I learned to embrace those elements, like the whole thing opened up for me and I thought, "Oh my god, this is an amazing game. This is a lot of fun." And then, the completionist in you comes in. You understand how the game works where you go, "Okay, I have to get these things to do this thing to advance the story, to advance the game, excuse me, to get closer to an ending." And so, once that became a thing, it was great. So like the first time I had played it, I didn't get very far. Picked it up again, I got a little bit further, and then this last time I was playing it, I like blew it out of the water, and I was really like having a great time with it and getting all these little power ups. I started to learn like the synergy between weapons and abilities and stuff, and started really like doing damage to these big bosses, and so it kind of became like my front pocket game for a long time. Everybody knows I just consistently play Apex Legends all the time, every time, even when it stinks. Like right now, I always have that one player game in my front pocket, and this was it for so long. And no, and I'm not throwing you under the bus or shouting you out, Chris. Had we done this when we originally planned to, I was still playing it. I've since moved. I've kind of slowed down and moved on to something else, but this game is still fresh in my brain. I'm probably going to go back to it after I finish up whatever I'm playing now, and yeah, I just have a lot of fun with it. That's my history with the game. I know I didn't get it day one, because I heard roguelite and I was like, "Pfft." So I've probably been playing it since, what are we in 23? So I've probably been playing it since like 2020, maybe 2021.
Right. Yeah, I didn't get it at launch either. I thought it looked incredibly cool. All right, because
Yes,
I
I love the
loved
art.
the art, everything about the visual design. I was like, this looks amazing. But then I saw, the word roguelite and said, it's not really my jam. I don't like
Right.
those games. But it looks
Hmm.
so good. And then my friend Mike was playing and he said, this is amazing. You got to try it out. And after a long time, I did eventually try it out. Set aside a couple of hours to just sit and try and get into the game. And I started to understand its loop and I got that it
Yeah.
was fun, but it still wasn't for me. At least it didn't click enough to make me stop wanting to play all the other things I was playing at the time and just abandon all hope and dive into Dead Cells. So I never really did get back to it, which is kind of a bummer because I really wanted to mess with that Castlevania content. So
Same. I think that's another reason why I got back to it is like, oh, there's a Castlevania crossover, and I started seeing screens of like Alucard and Dragon. I was like, it's kind of cheesy, but oh, it's tickling me the right way. So
it just seemed I with that art style and the way the music sounds, like, you know what? The Castlevania crossover with this just seems like so much fun.
yeah, I'm excited to eventually get to it, but I have a long way. I kind of want to try and beat the base game before it just gets out of hand because I know once you start introducing DLC and it's like board games. If you buy a base board game and all the DLC and you try and start, it's just gonna be so painful to understand because in the DLCs they eventually add new rules and things like that. So maybe not for video games, but you get different things that are different from the base. So like I like to progress with the progress as opposed to just being like, oh, I got it all. Let's load it all and figure it out. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like there was a lot to it. But it also seems to play really well with its own lore. Like it's got, you can only be so story driven on something like that, but it seemed like it
Yes.
was really, I don't know, it was interesting. It was a very interesting game. And as far as games like that, it's like that and Hades, I really want to make click for me. And I'm
Uh,
sure with enough effort, I will make that happen. Like I'm going to get over that hump and then it's going to click in my head and be like, okay, perfect. We'll do that.
I will. I don't want to get off topic, but Hades was a tough game, and I think I've beaten it twice. And then I talked to people who have beaten it like 30 and 40 times, and they're like, "Oh, how many times have you beaten?" And I'm like, like two or three. And they're like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, "Why?" They go, "Oh, because there's so much more story." And I'm like, "How much more story is there?" I played this game like 60 times, and I've only beaten it twice. Like, how much? And they're like, "There's more story." And I'm like, "You've gotta be kidding me!" But like, there's such good games that you go, all right, back into the breach once more. Yeah.
I
Anyway, I
it's
guess
I just I almost miss having something that was that engaging. Of like that was how I say almost because that was how I was with both Tears of the Kingdom and Sea of Stars this year. Where it's just like I just need to play this again. I just need to keep
yeah.
playing this. No, same with Mario Wonder. I had 3 games this year that were just like I couldn't get my hands off of. And Horizon Chase 2 almost did that to me. And if I wasn't so tired, I would be obsessively playing that one as well. But because it's a racing game, you really need that requires a degree of concentration. Like you just
Mhm.
can't play that game passively. So that's the
No.
only reason I haven't been obsessively playing that one because I've been so exhausted.
Yeah, I get that. The game I'm playing now, I've been playing it now I think 2 or 3 weeks right after Thanksgiving. It's called War Tales. I was just looking at it a few minutes ago. I have clocked 120 hours.
Wowzers.
Yeah, I have no idea where that 120 hours has come from.
You've been
Honestly.
playing it in your sleep.
Apparently, actually, you should. Funny you should say that because the game is so quiet. I have fallen asleep playing it. It's a tactical RPG, so I can totally pass out and wake up mid turn. Like, huh, what?
All right, let's get to business here. Let's start.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
start listening to music. Matt, you can take it from here. This was your pick. You know the songs. Tell me what we're listening to.
So the first track we're gonna listen to is the title track from a game, Dead Cells. Its title is officially called Dead Cells. Enjoy. That was the title from the game Dead Cells by the same name, Dead Cells. How'd you feel about that, Chris?
I mean, it was really jaunty, high energy, just real toe tapper.
Wait a second. Why is my sarcasm meter going off? Huh. Must be broken. Anyway, proceed.
No, I thought that was I mean, obviously it's very dour, but that's really the vibe that this game gives off. Like, at least just for its atmosphere, the game itself is pretty high energy.
Hmm.
But the atmosphere is because you're a prisoner. You know, it's this dingy dungeon that you're in. That's a fun thing to say. Dingy dungeon. Um,
Talk about jaunty.
the jaunty dingy dungeon.
Wow.
Oh
That
my
just
god.
happened.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Great instrument choices. You know, it's what's that harpsichordish sound? It just sounds like a
Yep.
in the it sounds like you're in the gallows of a pirate ship or something. It's good stuff. Thumbs up.
So you're absolutely right. So I don't know if you remember the game. Well, actually, I guess we're gonna get into the next level. The next track goes to the next level. But yeah, it's a very. I like the word dour. It's a very dour game, but beautifully created. You know, even like the dark and dingy parts are like gorgeous too.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of reflective in the music. This song is certainly something like that. I love its crescendo, the building, 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 and the chorus or the choir, and the harpsichord is perfect to be like that lead instrument and stuff. And I think I think a lot of the music in this game is built the same way because the levels are, as we mentioned, they're generated different every single time. So there's a lot of elements to the game that if you've never played it before can prevent you from hearing a lot of this music. You know how you and I have had tracks in the past, like the Double Dragon episode was a perfect example. You played a
Uh,
thing that was like a menu that you would be on for 3 seconds and you don't get to hear all its majestic, wonder. There's some levels that you end up spending 20 minutes going through because you're looking for something specific, or the same level could take you 2 minutes because you're trying to get a time bonus, which allows you to get better weapons or, whatever it is, right? Like the thing that really opened up for me and made this game great was the level at which I had to play, which is to say, what's my end goal for this run? Because you do multiple runs, right? What's my end goal for this run? Oh, I'm trying to beat it so I can get a boss cell so I can get to the next level of, whatever difficulty, because you have to keep doing that to get to the final level of difficulty to get the finish, the end, right?
mm-hmm.
Other times it's like, oh, I know I need to get this ability. So in order to do that, I had to do several different things. So you end up spending more time in the level. So there's certain songs here that you may only hear a minute of it because you zip through it, and other songs, and they're all beautiful. So the fact that you listen to this one all the way through and it crescendos big, and then a lot of the other stuff is like that too. You may not get to hear. So I think that was another reason why I wanted to do this too. It has fantastic music. And also I think because we had done the Halloween episode, I had thrown the cemetery level. You're not going to hear it in this episode, so if you want to hear it, go back to the Halloween episode. But anyway, we're going to move on to a song called Prisoner's Awakening. So once you start up the game, you basically, whatever it is, your essence is dropped into a meat sack, which is a prisoner's body. And that's where you get the flaming head. You rise up and you move forward. So this is the music that plays during that. You go through, I don't want to say shops, but you meet merchants that give you stuff to begin. And then you go into the level, which is the first level, and you start to decide where you're going to go. Because much like a choose your own adventure book, there are several pathways to getting yourself to the end of a run. So, how you decide to do it is your own business. Like I said, if you've got a particular thing in mind, you're going to try and go for a particular route. So, yeah. Anyway, here's Prisoners Awakening from Dead Cells. Enjoy. That was the prison. Well, it's just Prisoner's Awakening from Dead Cells, and that is the first bit of real music you encounter when you start playing this game. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Sometimes, sometimes I forget it's there. I actually have a big problem with music in video games. Is I tend to not pay attention to it, which is why I think I gravitated towards doing the show with you, Chris,
Hmm.
because I was like, there's a whole element to video games that I'm just completely missing, and it just fades into the background, which is odd because I'm a sound engineer, and you think I'd be paying more attention to it.
Hmm.
I think I'm more of a sound effects guy now that I think about it. Anyway, it's such a I personally think it's such a beautiful piece of music. That guitar is bathed in enough reverb that it almost sounds dreamy. And I think that makes a lot of sense for, the first thing you see, which is this essence, this, I don't know what you want to call it, soul perhaps, inhabits this prisoner's beheaded body.
I do. Yeah, it's definitely very invigorating. It doesn't lose that kind of dour tone
Hmm.
the title screen music is kind of set into place, but it's got a lot of movement to it. The very heavy percussion going on in the background. It really is invigorating to make you want to keep moving and fight against whatever is keeping you where you are. It does such a beautiful job of fitting the tone of the game, but also just in being an extraordinarily enjoyable piece of music. Like it is very just sitting there. It was 4.5 minutes long. I didn't care a wink.
Hmm.
It's just like, yeah, keep it going.
Yes, I was looking at some of these songs and I was like, "Oh, it's over 3 minutes. Oh no." But like you're absolutely right. Like it's so enjoyable that it comes and it goes.
Yeah, really not a problem in the least. No, it's great song.
Cool. Well, I'm going to keep the train going. The next one we're going to do is called Black Bridge. So, depending on the route you take, because as I said, there's several routes you can take once you get to the quote unquote end of a level, depending on how much DLC you have, depending on how many boss cells you have, depending on what kind of abilities you found and upgraded, it determines the availability of your next, I don't know, endeavor, right? So in the beginning, you pretty much just go to a place called Blackbridge, and Blackbridge is the first boss you encounter. I believe his name is the Concierge. I love some of the little like tongue in cheek things. That's another thing about this game too. There's little bits of it that make it self aware,
Yeah,
and
it takes itself just seriously enough. Like
yeah,
it doesn't just look really cool and play really well. It's got a great personality.
yes, and of course they did a cross. So I don't know if it's a full crossover, but there's a thing with Shovel Knight where you can get a what do you call it? A skin to look like a very tall, elongated Shovel Knight. It's kind of weird looking.
I don't
But
think
then
that's the
there's
only one. I think there's actually several indie game crossovers
yes,
with this.
there are. I just don't know them all. But I know for a fact the Shovel Knight one because when you load all that in, there's a sprite you can talk to. I forget what it is. And or there's like a tome you can interact with, and it basically tells you the tale of Shovel Knight, but in such a
Yes.
way that's like it's a legend in that universe. So it's kind of, I love the little nod. I love the little tongue in cheek. Like it's cool, man. It's just cool. But anyway, Blackbridge, right? First boss you encounter, the concierge. So we're gonna give it a listen. Enjoy. That was Black Bridge from Dead Cells, and that was boss music.
Yeah, it was pretty boss.
Yeah, I love that track.
I don't know. I like Periwinkle Bridge better, but Black Bridge is pretty good.
Well, I've got nothing. All right.
Any excuse to use the word periwinkle. No, that was freaking great. That was great. It was very dynamic. I like. It almost seems like it was like, all right. I think I've got the hang of this song. I think I know what's going on here. Why is there still so much left? Oh, because there's more to the song. Wonderful.
Which is funny because I think that's such a perfect metaphor for the game.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I thought when I was first playing it, I was like, oh, all right, I get it, I get it. And then you hit a wall and you go, no. And then you try and like a wave crashing on the beach. You try and do it again and again and and then finally you get
No, it's a kart racer. Oh.
I thought it was a platformer.
I was wondering why I was saving up blue shells.
Yeah, so again, like, I think I'm going to say this a lot through the episode, so I'm going to try and keep it to a minimum. Composition, orchestration, instrument choice is just beautiful. Every touch of like reverb and delay is so skillful. It's like it's not overdone. It gives everything a sense and a purpose and a size, which I think is fantastic considering the locations of this game, the areas you go through. It's just so well done. I'm just such a fan.
Yeah, I really thought it was a pretty wonderful music. And I'm looking forward to hearing more. So let's do that.
Yes, let's. The next one's called The Village. So after you leave Blackbridge, you will then set out on another set of little, I don't know what you would call them, I guess levels that, again, have once you leave a boss, you go to its next level, and that never changes. And then from there, you get one, two, or three new passageways out of that level. So you start all over, not all over again. You start the next leg of it. This is called The Village, and it comes right after Blackbridge. Let's give it a listen. That was The Village from Dead Cells. One thing I notice a lot about some of this music is that they're waltzes.
It has a very sea shanty vibe.
Yeah, well, okay. So this particular track is for a place called The Village, and The Village looks pretty much like a coastal dock shanty town, and the enemies are very much like giant crabs, anthropomorphic crabs, and like pirates that are jacked up carrying cannons and stuff. So this definitely has a very seaside theme to it. This very particular landscape. So it makes sense that the music's like it. But like you'll get I feel like waltzes are intrinsically tied to old, and old is what is used for, spooky. And so I think that's playing on the tropes we as fans already have established through other, media. But again, there's that guitar in there. I don't think it's a guitar though. It might be a mandolin, just played low as the lead and stuff. It's just beautiful. Just beautiful music.
Yeah, this was a really stunning song. It's absolutely outstanding. I mean, it's not as good as The Village from Bubsy and Claw's Encounter of the Third Kind, but then again,
A-
what is?
apples and bricks, Chris. Apples and bricks.
If you're gonna if you're gonna call your song The Village, you got to know what you're up against there, pal. No, I couldn't be kidding. I couldn't be joking more. As much as The Village is a solid song from that terrible Bubsy game, this is really some next level excellent stuff. It's a phenomenal song, and it definitely gives me like kind of Pirates of the Caribbean esque vibes.
hmm
Although definitely not the same vibe. It's like less
Disney.
yeah, less Disney, less high adventure on the seas. Um,
Yeah.
I know you're
No
wrong.
one
I
gets
freaking
hurt.
love those movies. I freaking love those movies. Even when they started
Oh,
like
absolutely.
as they started going downhill, it didn't even matter to me. I still thought they were really fun.
I was
But
just watching the parts of the fourth. I had already seen the fourth one, but I was watching parts of it over someone's house just after Thanksgiving, and I was saying like, this was probably the worst one, but even its worst is better than some others'
yeah,
best.
true.
You
Like
know what
as
I
far as
mean?
like popcorn flicks go,
Oh yeah.
they never get bad. They're just like that first one was magnificent,
Oh, no question.
and then they followed it. Then they got really complicated following it up, and then after the
Well, yeah,
trilogy was done, it was like, well, Jack Sparrow makes us some money. Let's keep that train rolling.
yeah.
And then they
Just keep-
did, and like, well, they were certainly movies, and
yeah,
I
they
didn't
were
hate them.
movies by definition. They were movies.
I have seen worse movies. In fact, I just
Oh, no
watched that
question.
new Matrix movie.
There's a new one.
Yeah, Matrix
Oh,
Resurrections, the from like
that's
last
right.
year or something.
I
Yeah,
didn't bother.
again, not a terrible movie, but very pointless.
Cash grab. Anyway, we're gonna move on to a level that I actually do have a bunch of experience with. I mean, all these levels I have a bunch of experience with, but more recently because the route I'm taking has to go through this area just because of the way the game is designed. You have to do this first and then that and then do this and then you can get here. The level is Toxic Sewers, and I hate this level.
So we're going from a Bubsy song to a Sonic Spinball song. Awesome.
Yep. I lied. This isn't Dead Cells at all. What you're actually hearing is reimagined interpolations of Bubsy and Sonic the Hedgehog music.
Sorry, Sonic Spinball was Toxic Caves, not Toxic Sewers, but it was a sewer level.
I lied. This is Dead Cells. What you're listening to is the music from Dead Cells. Any hoozle. Here's Toxic Sewers. Now you got me messing it up. Here's Toxic Sewers from Dead Cells. Enjoy. That was Toxic Sewers from the game Dead Cells, and just hearing that music brings on frustration and anger. Because I find that level has some of the most obnoxious enemies in the game. And then you get to later levels and you find that there's more obnoxious enemies. I find all the enemies in this game obnoxious. Not a one of them is like, oh, I'll fight 1,000 of these. No, they're all obnoxious in their own right.
I can't really attest to it. I had given up on the game far before this. I'm ashamed to say. However, I really liked that little bass line in the middle there. Like it's all very atmospheric and a tad repetitive, but not necessarily in a bad way. Just like, all right, I see where this song is going, and then just kind of whips up that little bass line for you, like the little upright bass sounding thing. This is good stuff. Good, well
That's
done, well done, Dead Cells. Well done.
That's kind of the central theme, if you will, for the game is this. You'll hear it in a lot of places. So yeah, in this, for a lot of the time, it shows up as that bass line, and yeah, I love just that single sound. That bass alone sounds perfect.
It does.
All right, moving on. This is a level that I'm grotesquely familiar with because I've been hunting an item here for I don't know how long.
Just amused by the phrase grotesquely familiar.
well, when I tell you the name of the level and what it means, you might go, well, all right, that makes sense. The level is called Ossuary, Ossuary. And what does that mean? Chris, I'm glad you asked. It is a container or a room in which the bones of dead people are placed.
Okay.
So there's a whole, like, if you're playing the game and you're paying attention to like the loading screens, they write little factoids about the place you're going to. There's a whole, connective story. In giving you these little factoids, it makes the game feel like it's in an actual place where one thing leads to the other, one place has a purpose that leans on the others, and so on and so forth. So basically, you're in a prison. You start off in a prison because you're a prisoner, and you quote unquote break out of the prison and you start to go through these areas that one leads into the other. And so you end up in the ossuary. Like I said, I've been searching for this one particular item, or this ability, I should say, that will make traversing the game that much easier for me. But I don't think I have enough boss cells that it becomes available yet. So I've spent a lot of time in the ossuary just kind of floating around looking for the thing, and I can't find it. So grotesquely familiar with the ossuary. So
no, I would have called it the Bone Zone, but I guess ossuary is a good name too.
Chris, the show is listened to by children.
What?
This is Ossuary from Dead Cells. Trying to erase that from your memory. Enjoy. That was the ossuary from Dead Cells. And I'm going to let that fade out into the background as I talk over it and I have a creepy soundtrack. So, yeah, this level's design, I think, is absolutely gorgeous. Each time you finish a level, you end up going to kind of like a rest area where you, depending on the difficulty, you can replenish your health and purchase upgrades to any weapons you have and so on and so forth. And then it allows you to, go up to a door or a hole or whatever and interact with it. And that is the lead into the next level. I've always loved the lead into the ossuary because you go from like this, I don't know, dungeony, towery, stone kind of facility. And it's always a hole in the ground that like it looks like this red gore is just has been vomited up from it. And it's like it I gotta say the lighting effects of this game are gorgeous too. Like it's really like dimly lit, so it's nice and creepy. It's just cool as hell. And then the level is just more of the same. It's so fun.
Yeah, this it struck me as vaguely nondescript for a lot of it. It could just be that I'm extremely tired, but I did enjoy it. Much like I'm enjoying everything else about this. It's so atmospheric, you know. It's so
Yeah.
just wonderfully put together. All the weird, creepy percussion things. Like nothing's really hitting in weird places or anything like that. It just sounds like it is. It's got a very unsettling nature to it that I'm really enjoying.
Yeah, I tend to want to stay away from atmospheric music because it can be kind of similar to the ossuary, where it's like, okay, there's nothing really to grab onto the way you grab onto like the melody of something and you go, oh, it's such a great lead or whatever.
Right.
But this game definitely like knocks it out of the park with atmospheric. But it also, in my opinion, combines that, I think it's true to the Metroidvania where you get some atmospheric stuff. You think of maybe like newer Metroids, and then the Castlevania series as a whole is just phenomenal soundtrack. After phenomenal soundtrack. So I think the composer did a great job of kind of marrying the two. Less is more where it's necessary, and then more is more where it's necessary. All right, I am gonna stumble saying this because I would just my brain would read it as conjunctivitis and move it on, but it's not. It's conjunctivius. Conjunctivius. Sure. Someone out there is just cursing right now.
Yeah. Conjunctivius. Yeah.
Conjunctivius. I like that better. This is another boss that once you get through like the sewers and the ossuary, get a boss battle. It's a giant eyeball. Yep, giant eyeball.
That's such a great name for a giant eyeball.
I know,
Hey,
I know.
here's some interesting trivia for you. How did the band Pink Floyd get their name?
I'm not sure. How did they get their name, Chris?
Pink Floyd was actually named after Roger Waters' best friend Floyd, who was cursed with a chronic case of pink eye, otherwise known as conjunctivitis.
Huzzah.
It's not true at all. That was a rock fact from Syphilin Alley, but anytime I see the word conjunctivitis,
Somehow or another, you got to work Syphil and Ollie into a conversation. I see you.
I can't not.
I get it. Anyway, here it is. I'm not saying the name again. Boss battle from Dead Cells. Enjoy. That was Conjunctivitis from Dead
And
Cells.
you'd think that a boss battle song would be like maybe just a little epic. Like they really couldn't make it even vaguely epic. That's sarcasm again. It's extraordinarily epic.
I know. Actually, that boss is one of my favorite bosses to fight too. Um, it's a giant eyeball that takes up pretty much 2/3 of your screen, and you're the little guy running around platforming and stuff. And I like it. I love the design of it. It's got like some chains on it. I think when the first time you approach it, it's actually chained to the wall, so it can only move around but so much. And as you collect these boss cells, which makes the difficulty increase, it loses a chain or two, and at some point it's just free floating and it and moves around. And that's the other thing too is the bosses get more attacks. So like your first encounter with them, you learn their patterns like an old school game, and you think, whatever. And then the next time you're like, okay, I see he's fighting a little more ferociously. And then the third time you fight him, you're like, oh, wait a second, where did these new attacks come from? And it's moving more free. It's a fantastic game. Definitely love it's not a level really. It's just kind of a room, but I love the design of it. I love the boss. I love the fight. I love the music. I love everything about this.
Yeah, I can't really speak to the boss battle itself. I do find it absolutely hysterical that there's a giant eyeball called conjunctivius or
However,
conjunctivus or
yeah,
Fred.
sure.
I just think it's
Old
it's
Fred.
hilarious. But the music itself is just so appropriately like with the chorus and everything in the background. It just kept building and being well, it was lovely, and I was scared.
Wait and see the monster. Anyway, we're going to move on to a level called the Prison Depths. This isn't a place I go to too often because I really hate the monsters here and die once and it's right back to start. And, you collect souls, which unlock things to help you do better along the way. If you pick up a blueprint and you die with it, you don't unlock it. You have to find it all over again. Whether it's blueprints for weapons, shields, armor, whatever, new outfits, you lose it and you have to start all over again with it. So it's a pain in my tuchus. But the music, however, fantastic. Anyway, the Prison Depths, Dead Cells, enjoy. That was The Prison's Depths from Dead Cells. And I think a lot like some of the other music, some stuff that we're not listening to in this particular episode, it has a nice plodding pace to it. Again, that waltz is there, right? Which I think for a lot of people can be unsettling for all the reasons I mentioned before. But it also marries it with that, again, that beautiful like mandolin guitar. You get some of that harpsichord in there that you mentioned in an earlier track. And it just comes together so well.
Yeah, it was again with the waltz, but I really don't I really don't know what else to say. I mean, it's very reminiscent of everything else that was happening. It's been happening so
Hmm.
far on the soundtrack, which is just like, all right, here's another great song. Enjoy. it's this one I don't really know what to say specifically about it. It's just it was what was this was what was this area? The prison's depths.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly creepy enough, but moving enough to keep you wanting to move through a level. Like I don't know. Yeah, I like.
It's okay not to know, Chris. No, but you're right. Like we're basically just gonna sit here and say the same things over and over again. The soundtrack's fantastic. Like I wouldn't have put it across your plate if I didn't think so. And to the viewers or listeners in this case, same thing. Like I mean, there's like I don't know 20 something tracks, 26 tracks to the original soundtrack, not the DLCs that include Castlevania and stuff. So if you're digging this, go out and check it out, man. That being said, we'll move on to the next area, which is Clock Tower. Any standard dungeon, Castlevania, Metroidvania should have a good old clock tower, and they have theirs. I actually really like this level. It's a lot of fun. There's a couple of different, like, as it generates, you get, different builds and stuff. But I think it's just a lot of fun. A lot of, jumping and climbing, which, reminiscent of the early Castlevania stuff and so on. Yeah. So anyway, Clock Tower, Dead Cells, enjoy. That was Clock Tower from Dead Cells, and I think it's spot on. I love the use of the gears and the clock mechanics to open and close the song. I think they even actually exist in there as well. The thumping of the gears, the thump, they exist in there as well, like behind some of the drums and stuff. I love the level and I love the music. Fantastic.
Not having the connection to the level, I did like, you said Clock Tower, and it starts off with like the kind of clicky noises, and that's fantastic. But there was a certain point like that kind of like this one has a very Western feel to it. Like this really feels like a very spaghetti Western the way those the guitar hits
Mm,
are, and like with the very kind of open sound. Like I was getting a real Western cowboyish vibe, but also when
yeah.
that kind of like trilling and almost like a flute trill that was going on during the middle of it, it made me think of like an 80s adventure movie for some reason. Like I was getting so many different vibes from this song, and they were all meshing together brilliantly. It was this track was just especially wonderful. I loved this one.
Now that you say that, that's definitely what I feel. I kind of popped back into it, gave it a quick listen again, and immediately wherever I dropped my playhead, I heard it immediately. Like it's very Maricone, who did all the spaghetti westerns with Sergey Leone. So I definitely get that the chorus going on and the strings and the driving guitar, like you said, that's awesome. That's great observation. And that will bring us to the last song we're going to listen to. It's a song called formerly known as Assassin. In reading the name, I couldn't remember where this came from, so I had to do a quick search, and God bless the internet because it came up. Very first thing, the song appears when you fight the boss that comes right after the clock tower, and he's called the Timekeeper. But the song's called formerly known as Assassin. Apparently, the Timekeeper, his I can't tell if it's male or female. I'll say its storyline, their storyline, tells that they used to be known as the Assassin. So this is again another element of boss music in this game. I do appreciate that this game has multiple boss musics because Chris and I do loves boss musics. So here we go. Formerly no, formerly known. Okay, formerly known as Assassin from Dead Cells. Enjoy. was formerly known as Assassin.
This game does epic really well.
It really, really does. What I love about the bosses is how much bigger than you they are. Like, if let's say you're a 6-inch sprite, they're like 9 to 12 inches tall, and they're big personalities too. All the attacks are massive, like screen covering massive at some points, depending on how deep into the game you are, right? I love this boss battle, but it comes with the caveat that I believe the timekeeper is a bastard, and I'm sorry to say that because it's hard. It's a hard fight, right? This is probably now, if you're doing it, I think if you're doing it your first run, I want to say that the timekeeper is probably your third boss battle. I can't quite remember the original order of things, but it's tough and they're fast. They throw chains that capture you and draw you in like Scorpion. You get hit with ninja stars. They teleport. It's such a pain, but the design of the room is great because you're at the clock itself. You're on the inside like a Big Ben, with the glass, and it's broken and everything's messed up and the clock is there. It's gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous.
It would certainly sounds like it. I, I like how the boss music is all so much larger too.
Yes.
The ones that seem to be about exploring an area have so much more air to them. These are almost like they're using the same kind of degree of um, reverb and stuff, but there's so much more happening that they make them sound so much more claustrophobic. They're just extremely well. It's just an extremely well designed soundtrack, and
Yeah.
it's making me want to find the time to dive into more of the
Ooh.
game. But who has that kind of time?
Well, I don't know, but I found 120 hours to play War Tales, so
That you did.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you start playing again, please feel free to ask me anything.
Will do.
And that's our show.
What a show it was.
And what a show it was.
Last one of the year.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is the last one of the year. Wow, what a year it's been.
Yes, indeed.
We're going to leave you, as we often do, with credits music to Dead Cells. I've heard it a couple times because it's a game that's a loop and you beat potentially the final boss, and then you get sent back to the beginning to raise the difficulty level. But every time you beat that quote unquote final boss, you get roll of credits and obviously everyone who's worked on it and so forth. And it's a very beautiful piece of music that I think sending you off on will be a wonderful thing to do, to send you out on the ends of 2003 and usher in 2004. That constant loop, huh? Hey, how'd he do that?
Matt, you're like 20 years off.
What did I say?
You said 2003 and 2004.
You know what really sucks about that? I was 100% committed to it. And in my head, I saw the numbers correctly. But out loud, I said I'm wrong. I'm leaving it in. I don't care. Anyway, bye-bye 2023. Hello 2024.
And with that, we should decide what our next episode is, right? Because it's my pick. We're not quite ready for the WaveBack Awards. There's still more planning to do. We're probably aiming for them for February. So for January, to kick off the new year, I have decided that we're going to be listening to one of my favorite soundtracks, and one that I think doesn't get the recognition it deserves, and that is the soundtrack to Donkey Kong Land for Game Boy.
All right.
Nice chip tune to keep you warm in the cold January month. I'm excited, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to listen to. And with that, that's going to wrap us up. We here at the WaveBack Podcast are incredibly grateful to everyone who listens, and we love communicating with you when we can. We have a couple of ways you can do that. There's the Geekade Discord channel, in which we have a WaveBack chat, where we frequently discuss all manner of stuff relating to video game music and whatever our next episodes are going to be. Of course, you can always still send us an email at mail@geekade.com, and while you're at it, check out all our social media channels, which you should totally follow, like, and subscribe to if you haven't already. WaveBack and other Geekade podcasts are made possible thanks to the Geekade Patreon page. There, patrons can get access to a monthly podcast topic and recording schedule, get early access to most of Geekade's shows, including this one, and more. And if you've enjoyed our podcasts over the years, please follow the link in the description and give it a look. We appreciate it. Finally, as always, be sure to check out all the other great content we have on our site over at geekade.com. Matt, thank you for bringing the lovely music of Dead Cells to my attention. I will be hearing loud drums for the rest of the day well, no matter what. So here's the credits music. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.